What's up, my people? It's another lovely Saturday, and you're welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I was able to achieve this creative birthday posters. By the way, if you're new to this channel, my name is Ibe Douglas. I'm a brand and visual identity designer, and you are highly welcome. Feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell so you will be among the first people to be notified when a new video drops. All right, so without further ado, let's get straight to it. So, how I was able to achieve these two birthday posters was through some inspirations that I got on Pinterest, which I'm going to be showing you. Like I always say in my previous videos, I always get inspirations from um, any source actually to create the designs that I do. All right, so these designs were inspired from these two posters. You could see this one was inspired by this one, or this design actually was inspired by this. You could see some things that are a bit similar. Then also this one here, you could see some things. This design particularly was inspired by this one. Some things are also seen here and all that. I got these designs from Pinterest. I do not know the designers who did this, but special shout out to them. Very, very creative designs. Yeah, this is like a football poster and this is a birthday poster. So special shout out to these designers who created these designs. Amazing designs. All right, so let's get straight to it. I'm going to turn off my artboards. I'm going to start from this one. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. Good. So the first thing I now did was to add my background color. Color was picked from the image, which you will see later. And then the next thing I added was a pattern that I blended with the background. What I always do is when I am adding a pattern or a texture to my background, I always try to blend it by first and foremost converting it to black and white. So if I remove the black and white effect and then I remove the soft light blend mode and increase it, this is the original color of the pattern. So convert to black and white, I go to my blending options, I choose soft light, and then I reduce the opacity to 30%. The next thing I now did was to start adding the images, right? So like I said, you've seen the inspiration, right? So for every shape I create, I add an image to it. And yeah, so I used my pen tool to create this shape. This is where you can activate your pen tool, or you just simply click P. So when you click P, make sure that this option here is on shape, not path. Don't put path. Make sure it's on shape. Okay, then you can select your color here. This same blue color was also picked from the image, which you guys are going to see later. And then you just draw what you want to see. And yeah. Oh, sorry guys, I think that's a mistake. So let me just be on this, and I'm going to create this again. Let's do this. Draw this pattern, draw this pattern. Yeah, so it should be on like the previous layer before. You can create a new layer and just start doing this, right? Or it can just be on the previous one and you just create. Yeah, so once you're done with that particular one, you just click on it. You just click on it and then put the color code, or you pick from the color, whichever color it is that you're doing. Just pick any color here, or you pick from the image itself. Okay, so that's how I was just drawing and drawing and drawing, and then I'll just click mask my image. So I drew this image, and then this is the image itself. If I remove this, this is the image itself. Yeah, this is the image itself. Could remove it from its normal mode, and I also converted this to black and white. So this is the image. Okay, converted it to black and white, and then I used the overlay, and then I now clip maxed my image into this shape here. So just same thing I did here, also did the same thing here. I created another image, and then this is created another shape, sorry, still with the same color though, still with the same color code here. Sorry, this color swatch is from another design, so that's why it's not having the same thing. So but you get the point. So picked the color here, still the same thing. I just duplicated this stuff, and then I just used my pen tool, created another part, and then this same image itself again, I clip maxed it. This is the original image. If I put it on the normal mode, like I said, all images before I clip maxed them into the shape, I converted it to black and white. So convert it to black and white, I use the overlay blend option, and then I just clip mask into the shape. So that's how I was able to create all those. So I was just creating like different frames of this particular design. So created another one here, put the image here. The next thing I also did, still here, also still did the same thing for this one. Created, so I just added different frames, created different frames and different images, just created them here. Sorry, I'm gonna move this, and then I grouped all of them into box. So when I remove this, I know that I have removed the entire frame. And then the next thing I now added was the images. I started adding my images at the left and at the right and at the center. Add this one here, next one, and then I added this one at the center. So you could see how it covered this section here. So I covered it, and then I added like my write-up, generated the birthday write-up from ChatGPT, used the overlay blend option, and reduced my opacity to 25%. So after I added this image, I added a gradient fill to this, still from the same color with the background, and then I also still added this pattern, but this time I had to like clip mask. If I remove this pattern, would have like occupied the entire background, but I didn't want that. I just wanted it on the gradient. So I used my alternate key to activate my keyways. So I used my alternate key to clip mask this, alternate click. And then next thing I now added was, before I added the names, I added this picture here. Yeah, I added this picture by the left. So this picture, just did a little touching on camera raw, added this ellipse tool here, still having the same blue color. I used color dodge. If I put it normally, this is how it was going to look like, right? This was how it was going to look like, but I wanted it to be interesting and I didn't want it to be like this. So I used the color dodge blend option, and then I think I reduced it to 25% or 30. Yeah, I think did that. And then I now created a shadow effect for the legs, for the chair, using my ellipse tool. You could just come to this section here. Sorry, where is it? Sorry, only line 2. You just come here, select your ellipse tool, make sure it's in black, and you just draw like this. That's how to create it. And then the next thing you now add is your Gaussian blur. So you go to the blur effect, go to Gaussian blur. There is a shortcut for that which I created. First of all, tell you to convert it to a smart object. So this is how you create it. You just reduce it. You just create this like this, and then reduce the opacity of your shadow. So yeah, that's how this effect was created. Just try as much as I can to reduce the size. Yeah, done. So just reduce your opacity. So that's how I was able to create this effect. So Sorry guys, just remove this. All right, so that was how I created that shadow. So the next thing I now did was to add the name. So the reason why the image came first, you could see that I had to add this image first before this, is because I had to bring this layer, which is the name, behind this image. So if you want anything to be behind this particular subject, it has to be like behind or under that particular layer. So this is my layer image, and then the text is also under it. So that's why I just had to, yeah, you get the gist. So I added this. The name of this font is Wascar. You can check this font out on get this font from thatfont.com, or you could just Google it, get it. And then I added the title, Dr. Mrs. Name of this font is Wonder Story. Yeah, Wonder Story. That was how I was able to get that. And then another thing I now did was to like create like a mirror effect for the text itself. How I was able to achieve that, I just duplicated this text and then I changed the positioning. Let me disable this layer mask. Let me disable this layer mask so you would see how this is it, how this was done. So this is it. What I did was, first and foremost, I just duplicated. Let's put this back to normal. Let's put this back to normal. I could start this from, I'm going to turn off my artboard and we're going to create this. Okay, so just hold your alternate key, this two buttons comes out, and then you duplicate. That was able to do that. And then after I duplicated, you just take your arrow to this option, or you can just click the Ctrl T for the free transform tool, and then you right click, you will see flip vertical. It turns it over here. You just zoom in a little bit to make sure that it's properly aligned. So I just zoomed it to make sure it's properly aligned to give me that effect. And then I now just reduce the opacity to 21%. So I've reduced it. So I've created that kind of mirror effect, but I didn't want these other parts, like I didn't want these parts to show and all that. And so I now added my layer mask. Just go to layer mask here, add your layer mask, and then you click on your brush tool, which is B. This is your brush tool. Make sure it's in black, and then you reduce this, and then you just clean off. You see how it's creating that kind of effect. Yeah, just clean it off, and yep, that was how I was able to achieve that. So I'm just going to delete this guy and get back to this one. Delete this and get back to this guy. Let's enable and go back to this, and then reduce my opacity to 21. Yeah. So that was how I was able to achieve that effect. And then I started adding the happy birthday. This is the same font I used for the happy birthday, Wascar, but now in sentence case, now did this one again, another shape, created another shape. By the way, I had to create them like in straight form, in original straight form, before I now rotated. Right, that the reason why I rotated it was to also grab attention actually to the happy birthday. Yeah, didn't want to just write it normally like I'd already done for the names, so I did that. So next thing I did was to add my dates over in this position here. Same font, Oscar. This time I just used color contrast to highlight the March and separate it from the numbers. Yeah, just did that. And then I added the same name, Dr. Manuela here. I wanted to achieve like a kind of pattern effect or something like that. So I reduced the fill. Normally, this is how it is without the stroke effect. It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. So I just brought it down here, and then my fill, I reduce it to 0, right? Let's duplicate this. So I can start from the scratch and show you guys how I was able to achieve this. So I'm going to duplicate my layer. Just going to duplicate this guy, turn it off. I'm going to remove this effect. This is it. Let's go back. So this is it. You've duplicated this guy, right? You've duplicated this guy, you've increased it a bit, and you've brought it here. Now, the next thing you would do is you just go to your fill, reduce this fill to 100, from this fill from 0% to 100% to 0%, sorry. Still, this layer being highlighted, you right click, you go to your blending options, shift it to this area so you could see, and you go to stroke. You go to stroke. You see your, because it's already in by default it's black, or depending on the previous color, if you've used it before, it will show. So make sure the position here is center. Okay. If you increase the size, it will keep increasing. Yeah, so that's not what we want. So just come here, you change this color to white. And you see, that's how I was able to achieve that. Always make sure that when you are adding any blending options and all that, that your preview is turned on. If your preview is not turned on, you won't be able to see what you are changing. So always make sure the preview is turned on. So whatever it is you are putting here, yeah, whatever it is you are putting here, you would be able to see it. So yeah, center and all that. That's how I was able to achieve that effect. So I'm just going to come back to it. I think I increased the stroke a little bit. So yeah, you could just do that when you are working on it. And then zoom this out a bit. And then the last thing I added was my logo. And then, like I always do in my designs, I always add some finishing touches to spicing it up a little. I convert all these layers into one image, a shift control alternate E, convert it to one image, and I convert to smart objects. This is a customized shortcut that I use for converting to smart objects. You could just simply right click and go to blending options to convert to smart objects, and then I go to my camera roll. So this is the effect. You could just simply shift Ctrl A. This is a general shortcut to take you to camera raw. And then it's showing all these spaces because of the other artboards that are existing. So just come here, increase my grain. This is a personal preference, mind you. So it's not like what I'm doing here, this is what you must do. This is like preference based on trial and error. You test and see what works and what you like, right? So you don't have to start like cramming the entire values that I used. So this is like preference. You know what and what you want to be seen. You know, maybe if you want to increase the white, or if you want to increase your black, you want to increase that, whatever it is you want to do, just play around with it and make sure it gives you something crispy, right? Can increase this here, you could see, can increase this to the highest, and you could see how sharp the images are. So yeah, when you finish with what you're doing on camera, just click OK. The essence of using camera raw is to just, you know, spicing up the design, you know. So that's just what I did. Delete that and let me use what I did here. So this was what I did here for this one. Yeah, so created artboard 1. The next artboard is still the same design. What I just did here was to play with my hue and saturation. So if I remove the hue and saturation effect, it will take me back to this design. Yeah, hue and saturation, Control U, this is by default. And I just came here, used this, and then I tapped on this brownish button, and then I just started playing with some things. So I know that, yeah, just playing with some things around here, reducing some effects, doing some things. Yeah, so you just play with your hue and saturation if you want to achieve that effect. And that was what I did for the second artboard. Let's just go back to the way it was. And then zoom this out a bit. And then the next artboard, which is another design frame. I'm going to start from the scratch on how we're able to do that. So I'm going to remove everything here and we're going to start. Okay, so white background this time. White background this time. This was locked, but notwithstanding, this is a pattern. I changed the I changed the, this is the original pattern, by the way. Let's go back to normal, increase the opacity to 100. This is the pattern. And then I used the luminosity effect and reduced it to 2%. So just to blend it. And then I added another pattern again. This is like a newspaper texture. By the way, I got these patterns from Pinterest. You could just search for them. I did this newspaper effect. You could see it. I converted it to black and white. So if I remove the black and white, I go back to the normal and then I increase. So this is the newspaper effect. So converted it to black and white. Go back to the option I used. Let's undo. Yeah, I used hard lights. Just trying to remember what I used. So convert to black and white. Use hard light. It's just depending on what you want to. Let's reduce this. So I went to hard light. Okay, hard light. And I didn't want it to be like this because I still wanted some bits of these patterns to still be like. I was still going to add some things. So that's why I just reduced it to 4%. I was just testing and testing. So you could still see some parts of the newspaper effect on the background. Okay, sorry, let's do that. So next thing I did, I added a shape here. How I was able to do this, it's like a trimming effect. If you want to know how to do this, I've done this before. Check the first video of the poster design breakdown series. By the way, I have a poster breakdown design series, which if you're a new subscriber here, just feel free to check out the poster design breakdown playlist in the description below. You see the first video, which is a 10 days to go countdown birthday poster design, where I was able to apply this effect on that design. So feel free to check out that video. You will know how I was able to trim or have this trim effect on the shape. And then the next thing I now did was to add a pattern to this. I clip maxed a pattern to it. So I used the overlay blend notion. This is the original. I always like showing you guys the original pattern so it don't look like, oh, it's something. So this was actually like a black and white pattern. It wasn't something I had to convert to black and white, right? So I used the overlay blend option and then I reduced my opacity to 24%. Yeah. So if I remove this, if I removed it, it will just be all over here. You might not even see it, but to be on the safe side, I just had to click mask with my alternate key and then I click masked it. And then next thing I added, sorry, this text was what I used in trimming on that shape. So you guys can check that video later to see how I did it. This one is just a rectangle shape you could create with your rectangle tool. You just come here. You don't need to use your pen tool to do that. Just right click here, select your rectangle tool, choose the color, and then you could just draw this. Yeah, draw it, and then yeah, that's how you do it. So let's get back to that layer. So this is it. The color was actually picked from the image. I just want to use bright colors on the background, and it was also use in contrast of the image, which you guys are going to see later. So I added an image to this. This is actually like I created it for the purpose of it being a picture frame. This image, if I remove this from its original, this is how it looks. If I increase this, if I increase this, and I remove the overlay effect, this is the image actually. So just use the overlay effect, reduce the fill, and then I reduce my opacity to 95. And then I always make sure that I clip mask. If I don't clip mask this image, it's going to be around the design, and that's not, you could see how it's affecting this part of the design. So it's a frame, so clip mask the image in that frame. It's there. Added another pattern. This is like still the same pattern that I added here. I just reduced the opacity a little bit. I could increase it, but I didn't want it to be like that, so it won't actually like cover the face of the image. So I reduced the opacity to 31, and then I also like had to clip mask it, the image. So that is it. Created another frame here as well, same effect, same color overlay, but a different image. Okay, and then I added this image, so you could actually now see where the pink was. So so funny story, yeah, this is not like the original color. I had to change the color of this image. If I opened this, actually like change the color, I had to use like my hue and saturation to change the color of this image. It was actually green. Yeah, this side that you're seeing pink was actually green, so I used hue and saturation to change the color to pink. So that was what actually influenced the color choice here, pink, and then I had to use like a yellow to complement it. And so added a gradient overlay to this, still used this same pattern, but I then clip masked the pattern to the gradient overlay. I then added this newspaper effect again. I still clip masked it, and then added the write-up generated ChatGPT. Then I added, this is the same font I used on the previous design, Wascar. This time I made it pink. And then I added this tool. I was going to add an image here, so I added this ellipse tool, and this is the image itself. So I added this image here. I put that here so it could actually stand out and not get lost. The image wouldn't get lost on the black suit. And then I added like a shadow to it. So where you'll be seeing this DMI stuff was like a text around the frame. That's like a path I created around the frame. If you want to know how I achieved this, you could also check one of the previous poster breakdowns I've done. Check the 5 days to go countdown poster design breakdown. So I did that, and then I added my happy birthday. So this is it. Let me remove this, guys, show you guys what I did here. So just added a rectangle to pick the color from the suit, by the way. Added the birthday, still the same font, Oscar. Added another one, added the happy. Yeah, so I just rotated it a little bit and made it look as if it's on at the top. So you could see how this rectangle here looks like it's placed at the top of this. So you could see, yeah, just rotated it a little bit and did that. And then, sorry, let me zoom this out so you guys could see properly. Then I added the dates. That's the birthday. I didn't want to use like the normal one I did here on this previous design, the 16th March 2025. I had to write it in words, and so I think it's the same font I used here, Oscar. So I just 16th 03, just did something a little bit crazy. So 16th, I didn't put much, I had to use numerals. So 16th 03 specified for the month of March. 2025, just something different from what I did on the previous poster. And then yeah, my Dr. Mrs. still the same font, which is Wonder Story. Added it there. I also now added like some patterns. So these patterns I just used like my rectangle tools to create it. I just created a rectangle tool, gave it the pink color, duplicated it, gave it a yellow color, and I was just duplicating and duplicating and duplicating and duplicating to just create like a pattern kind of thing. And yeah, just placed it there. I think I also duplicated that and I placed it here, just trying to make the background a bit interesting. So that was why I did that. I added like a doodle pattern. So this doodle pattern is actually white. You wouldn't see it. Yeah, so it's actually a white pattern. And then I added a color overlay, making it pink. If you want to learn how to, just same thing here, go to your blending options, right? Go to your blending options, make sure your preview is there, and you go to color overlay. Yeah, went to color overlay, and this, because of I'm already using pink, so I just picked it from there, and that was what I used. So I'm just going to turn it back on. Still duplicated that pattern, and I used the yellow color, placed it under here, and then I added the GIC logo at this position just to like create a little balance with this here. So that was what I did. And then finishing touches, like I always do, convert all layers to one image. That was what I did here. And then I added my camera raw effect. This is it when it's converted to one image, and then you apply your camera raw effect just to make it pop a little bit. So that was what I did. And so same thing, still the same design, just duplicated the artboard, used my hue and saturation, and then changed this pink color to green. That was just basically what I did here. Yep, if I remove my hue and saturation, it will be the same pink. Just added my hue and saturation, focused on the pink color, and then everything concerning pink changed to green. Okay. So yeah, so that's it. This is actually like the not the original though, but kind of close to it. But yeah, just changing it. Yeah, so we have come to the end of this video. If you loved this video, do well to drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about it, and also feel free to check out more videos like this in the poster design playlist in the description below. Do not also forget to hit that like button, hit the share button, and subscribe and turn on the post notification bells so you'll be among the first people to be notified when a new video drops every Saturday. By the way, I actually also added something in the description. If there are some certain tutorials or certain questions or feedbacks you would like to give to me as regards to the channel, what you want me to be creating in future videos, or if you have some questions or you have some feedbacks about the channel, there is a form link, a Google form link attached to the description of this video. Do well to check it out. You could write any question or you could get feedbacks there. You can also drop your video request there, and I'll try as much as I can to make sure I respond with a video tutorial, or I respond with a video if it's questions or feedbacks as regarding that. All right, guys, thank you so much and have a blessed weekend. Peace.